And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer, and we're going to be discussing the Righteous Gemstones episode number 3. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. Leave a like, leave a comment, and let's start with full spoilers, by the way, with all of our content. Um, I'm just very curious. Larry said he has some theories as far as, I guess, where the plot's going. I'm assuming it ties to Junior, but I want to hear the theory. We didn't discuss it yet.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It does. I feel like Junior is a red herring. They've been trying to pin this whole thing on Junior the whole time, but I think Junior is going to do what he alluded to earlier when he says, "If you're not my friend, you're my enemy." Then he's going to try and start his own church. He's going to run a grift, he's going to run a church grift like he does his whole wrestling grift. Uh, he's going to start. He had nothing to do with that attack, and that was my most likely suspect for that is Baby Billy, because he hasn't been in the show yet. So I feel like once we get the Baby Billy story, especially since the reporter was trying to expose Amy Lee, probably said something that set off Baby Billy, and that's how all that chaos happened.
I can buy that absolutely. Huh.
Baby Billy walking around with the RPG. Well, like,
I could see that too.
but
Well, yeah, because I was just saying,
like, was it a water heater? Was it because something like exploded, and then the whole forest was on fire, and because it kind of made it look like they were trying to cover it up. They were trying to, get rid of stuff. But to me, whatever it was, it showed. If I remember correctly, when they were all looking up into the tree and the body was like hanging from the branch in the tree, it looked like embers, like something was on fire. So it may not have been anybody, like you said, Larry, like a red herring kind of thing, that nobody went back to finish it to make it look like, somebody was covering it up and to make it look like they started a fire. They started the season with the guy telling them, "Hey, don't smoke out here. You can start a fire." So
that's true.
the fact that there was a giant explosion, a car was bent in that was smoking, like a fire could have just started. It could have been nobody went back to, cover it up.
So we get a story from Eli as far as because they suspect that he was involved the whole time. He was covered in blood. He suspects it was Junior, and that's why he sort of cuts ties with him. But he gives us the story that no, he was in fact out with a woman. He was at her place and he wanted to trim up for her, and it went horribly wrong, and that is where the blood came from. Do you think he's telling the truth, or I think he probably is, or do you think that could be BS? I like the fact that the kids were more pissed off that he was pursuing a relationship with another woman instead, as opposed to the murder. Like if he had, because they opened that scene where they're like, "Dad, I'm with you, man. You did what you had to do," and like they're completely cool with a full murder and a cover up. But if he's pursuing another relationship, that's bothering them. I just thought that was funny. But what do you think about his story? I felt that, man. I was like, oh.
From personal experience, like I've never caught myself with clippers that bad. Like I've tried to trim up, but the growing back, like if you trim up too close, is the itchiest, prickliest. Like it is not great. It maintains way too much upkeep. And I'm not saying to run around with the full like merkin down there, but like it like I've cut myself before in my face, my neck, down there, and it's never bled that much. So now he did get some on his hands, and it was like he was wiping his blood on his own pants. So it could have just been for comedy's sake. Like, how the fuck did he cut his balls and bleed that much? But I think that it's a feasible story, but I still don't know 100% whether or not it's a true story.
I think it's true. And I could, because I can imagine him going to those lengths to cover it up, and it would just be hard for him to, I think, cook that up off the top of his head that would be the place that he would go. Like, oh, I cut myself shaving my nethers. That's It's like, but
The only reason I think it might be made up is not because it's unreasonable for something like that to happen, but seeing the kids' reaction, like you said, Brian, at the beginning of that, was they were so pissed, not that he killed somebody and covered it up, but that he was trimming his balls to sleep with a woman. So he had to have at least had an inkling that they would react that way. So, distracting them, deflecting, and getting them to think that that's what happened and having them be mad at him would be an easy way to, you know, distract them. So, and that's the only reason I think that knowing what their reaction would be, that he may not be telling the truth. I don't think that that means he killed anybody, but I think that he knows more than he's letting on. And
I,
I think that's
I just want to hear Danny McBride tell his siblings, the ball story was a lie, y'all. Like, the well, go piggybacking off of that story. The thing that they didn't really explain, unless I completely missed it, we had amazing sequence of BJ's workout, with his rollerblades. And I love that they took the time to shoot a whole little montage. But there's a moment where Eli goes and rides a roller coaster by himself, and they point out the fact that he hates that roller coaster, and yet BJ saw him doing it. It was odd. It was never explained, and I'm assuming it ties into his where he is mentally at this point on what's going on. I thought it was interesting, and I bring that back to the story with the blood. It feels like he's definitely keep holding something back. I don't know what exactly or what exactly that means. But what did y'all think about that sequence, the roller coaster, and what all's going on with Eli?
yeah, that was. I thought that was hilarious. Like I said, I'm having a laugh anytime BJ's on screen. He's just such a goofy character. He's got the rollerblades and the little poles to propel himself and everything. Like, but that's a good point. I didn't even think about the roller coaster. It seems like there's definitely something heavier, weighing on his mind. So something is going on, and maybe he was involved in that, or there's a possibility that perhaps he even figured out what dude was reporting on about
Yeah,
Amy Lee, and that could be what's bothering him.
yeah.
I was looking up what the book of Exodus was mostly about because that was the name of the ride to see if that was some kind of hint. Because for him to be stuck on that ride and just continually ride it, and then the whole ball cutting thing, maybe he was feeling guilty about what he did also, but it how he told the kids the story, it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like he was guilt ridden. He was, ashamed of himself. It was like he felt like he did something wrong, but that he was just trying to move forward. And then he's being punished for trying to move forward by his kids. So the Exodus ride happened first. So I don't think that he felt guilt ridden by the ball cutting incident and stuff. So that's why I'm really like I think the baby Billy thing's a good turn because
Yeah.
when Jason Schwartzman was Nathaniel, it's like Nathaniel, no Nathaniel. I was like, oh Jesus! But for Nathaniel to be on to the sister or wife, depending on which character we're talking about there, uh, leads me to believe that maybe Eli was involved, but it was also baby Billy. It had nothing to do with um, what's his face? God damn it. Eric Roberts.
Yeah. Junior. Yeah, Eric
There you
Roberts.
go.
But yeah, Junior.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for some metaphor in the name of the ride, I mean, an Exodus is typically like a new beginning, so it could be about him starting a new chapter. There was a lot of talk of him retiring early in this season, not by him, but by his son. But I feel like by the end of the season or somewhere in the middle, maybe he may have to retire due to the events of what happened, or perhaps, whatever this drama is around, Amy Lee's secret that, Schwartzman's character said, he was researching, which was a surprise that he died because, such a big name actor, you would expect him to stick around longer, though, as I said earlier, I do expect we'll see some flashbacks.
Well, I'm just looking at Exodus, the liberation of the people of Israel from slavery in Egypt. That immediately leads me to believe, just from that first sentence, that maybe Amy and Billy, their family had slaves because of where they are, and that was something that he was going to put out.
Well, I don't know if that'd be big enough to doom them, though, because I mean they're not so old where they themselves would have. So, it could be that they were involved in human trafficking. You might be barking up the right tree, maybe, but you know, like if it was just like slaves in the traditional sense, I don't know if that would affect them because that wouldn't be them personally, and they wouldn't have been around for that.
I think it's going to tie to his father. They keep bringing up his father a lot, and I keep thinking there's a reason. They moved Gideon into the house, right? I think he's going to stumble upon something that maybe ties into it. I like I said, I have no real guess as what the secret is or what's going on, especially with the Amy Lee stuff. But I do believe, based on what they've been showing us, that there's something with that house, with the father, um, that Gideon may stumble upon that
You
ties
you
to
may,
it.
that's a good point because we haven't got a plot line for Gideon yet in this season, and that would probably be his, given that he's in his great grandfather's house now. There's bound to be some secrets in there that he's going to uncover or something plot relevant.
Yeah. Um, any other thoughts on that before we move to the the other plot line?
Nah. So
this episode, like you said, there wasn't much Gideon. They sort of didn't have time for the Texas, or the what do you call it, the resort storyline. But what they did, the Eric Andre story,
Zion.
they focused heavily on the God Squad. That was actually the bulk of the episode, and I mean, it's fine. We'll see where it's going, though. But I mean, there was a lot of comedy, and we have this little crew, and then we have one that's sort of rebelling, and then we have this trials of carrying the cross and all that. I thought it was all fine. I still wonder where this is all leading. The preview for the next episode shows that they're going to go, I guess, in the desert, 40 days, 40 nights. So we'll see how that pans out.
I didn't see the preview.
Oh shit! Yeah, you can look up the trailer. But my theory last week was that they were going to be used as some kind of physical, like, army at some point. Like, whenever they, if you watch the preview for the season, you literally see a whole bunch of guys with guns and all this action going on. So I was like, they may literally need an army to help fight, and my assumption is that's what this will be. I could be completely wrong, but I'm just guessing on what the point of this storyline is. But as far as the overarching story so far, it's been entertaining. But I would have liked a little more of the Eric Andre stuff this week. But thoughts on that particular story, the God Squad?
I think you hit on part of it just right there, because during the season when they were, or during the episode when they were persecuting the one guy who was on the bike and wasn't listening and kept claiming he was the alpha, it was, they mentioned that a lot of the people just now came to find God, I guess. So a lot of their backgrounds we don't know. The God Squad wasn't like this group of people that came from youth group camps, and like church directors, and a lot of the people that were in this group came from various, sides of humanity, and they talked about how they all found God. And then you had the whole pyramid thing that they didn't really practice all that well. And it it seems as though he's trying to put something together, but I think that it's not going to be Kelvin that puts it together. I think that either Eli or Danny McBride are going to put together the God Squad with all the guns and everything else.
Maybe Keith.
Oh yeah, fuck! I bet he does.
But yeah. I didn't see the trailer either, so I'm kind of shooting from the hip with this stuff myself, but that may well happen, and I feel like they're going to find out that these big muscle men are not as tough as they seem to be when they're on stage and ripping phone books apart. When they're confronted with actual danger, it's not going to be the scenario that the Gemstone family thinks it's going to be. Like, but I feel like I feel like the one member they had just kind of leave the group. The guy who was carrying the cross, like that. He of course clearly has a plan, and he's plotting against the youngest brother. But I feel like whatever his plan is it's going to be stupid and goofy, and it's not going to work out unless he's going back to trying to sue him.
I just
Oh,
love
no.
that they built that set and that giant, like looking at all, like they built all that, and I'm like, you built all this for this show.
Yeah, they
That was
built all this
good.
power team pair.
Dude, I couldn't stop laughing when they had all the people help to have him get under the cross, and then him.
Yes.
And the funniest part was the fact that he was on a bike because he had a sore leg. He hurt his leg because they said that during the pyramid thing that they were trying to build. Just like, oh, my leg, man, my leg. So his leg was already hurt. So for him to basically pull a hamstring, try it wasn't like he broke his leg or he got smushed, because I was expecting him to die. I was expecting the cross to like flatten him and smush, almost like cartoonish. And for that not to happen that way, and for him to pull a hamstring, was almost comedically funnier than what I was thinking in my head that was going to happen.
Another scene that just a funny line when they were visiting and Danny McBride's like, "You need a ride?" She's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Find one." And then he took off. It's like, I just love those little lines. But yeah, I was a little disappointed we didn't get any of the Eric Andre stuff.
But that just leads me to believe, well, I think that reinforces the fact that we both believe that it's a scam and they don't have the money.
Oh, I get completely, yeah, think that, yeah. But yeah, that was the episode. I'm very excited to see where it's going, based on those who've seen the entirety of the season. They say the second half is way more intense than even the first half, and so far the first half's been great. So
That was similar to Vice Principals, not so much Eastbound, but like Vice Principals was set up like that, where the first half was kind of weaving the story, and then the second half was like a crazy murder mystery. And that it's similar to kind of what's going on here. Is you have the murder kind of happen initially, everybody's trying to unwind stuff, but I think once they start figuring it out, it is like it's gonna hit the fan.
I just started remembering some Eastbound stuff, man. God. Yeah, if you're a fan, if you're listening to this and you're a fan of Righteous Gemstones and you've not watched the other Danny McBride series, do yourself a favor, go check them out. Same style of humor. I mean, he writes a lot of it, so it's yeah, he has a style.
Yeah, it's all styled like this, and I can't so much vouch for Eastbound because I haven't seen as much of it as you two, who've seen the entire series. But I can 100% say that Vice Principals, as a masterpiece, and you have to see that.
Um, that's all my notes. Anything else about episode 3.
Well, I just want to say that if Eli is Eli the name? Did I say the right name?
Eli, the father. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Eli. Yeah, if his if Junior is coming for Eli the way I think he is, he could have a lot of things set up overnight. You know, he has all these wrestlers, so he could have his
Yeah.
own God Squad.
Y'all didn't watch. You said you didn't see the trailer either.
I haven't seen the trailer either.
He sends a wrestler.
Like in his full get up.
You know, but you can tell he's a wrestler. I'll just say that. He's like Junior has a message, and he like is in a parking garage. Yeah, watch. Well, yeah, y'all gotta watch that. It's great. But yes, your theory is right. That's where it's going.
All right, yeah, I'll have to check that out then.
But all right, yeah, another great episode. Looking forward to the next one. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.